Good afternoon, Franklin Township. Welcome to the January 11th edition, January 11th, 2022 edition of the Franklin Reporter and Advocate News Hour. I'm Bill Bowman, the co-publisher and editor of the Franklin Reporter and Advocate, and I'm joined by
PJ Parker, co-publisher and advertising director of the same Franklin Reporter and Advocate. And I love numbers. And today, if anybody is a number person, 11122. I think that's just like super cool.
Oh, that's interesting.
11122. Isn't that interesting?
Okay.
Anyway,
play those numbers. Play those numbers tonight.
Exactly. Yes, and we're happy to ask you all to please subscribe to the Franklin Reporter and Advocate for a mere 10 cents a day, that you will continue to receive your hometown's local and the news as it happens in the medium that covers the news that you want to read about, from the schools to politics to how your money is being spent to construction to whatever's going on in Franklin. You're going to find it at the Franklin Reporter and Advocate. And if you've spot something that you would like to see in the Franklin Reporter and Advocate, please let us know. And to that end, you can reach Bill at editor@franklinreporter.com, and you can reach me at ads@franklinreporter.com. So without further spreading out of the good cheer, we are happy to be joined today by Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman. And we wanted to catch up with her 1 year later, 1 year and a few days later, after what went on January 6th in 2021. Bill?
Yeah, and again, we're so pleased to have Congressman Watson Coleman with us, and she's a friend of the Franklin Reporter, and we appreciate the fact that she's taken time, so many different times, to actually talk with us. We're not MSNBC, we're not CBS, we're not CNN. We're just your little old Franklin Reporter, and yet, she's gracious enough to come on.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to do.
What's important about this, Franklin, is that Congresswoman Watson Coleman is not just talking about what went on. She was there. She experienced it firsthand. And a more frightening account, I don't know that you're going to find. So I'm hoping that she is going to share that experience once again.
Yeah, and there's going to be some ground rules, Franklin. I've already had to deal with this earlier today. We are not. If you're interested in spreading misinformation, if you're interested in spreading the big lie, if you're interested in spreading nonsense, this ain't the place. Comments like that are going to get spiked. Repeated infractors are going to get banned. There's no negotiation. There's no discussion. That's just how it is. Our house, our rules. Okay, with that being said, let us bring on our guest. Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having me. Happy belated New Year.
Yes.
And
yes.
Same to you as well. Same to you as well.
Well,
we are about a year and 5 days away from that day. You've had a year, I guess, to go through and process and whatnot. And just looking back on things now, where you stand now, and we'll get into other things as we go on, but just looking back on things now, just give us your impressions of that day, looking back at it from history's perspective.
Well, if I can add to that, not just your impressions, you were there. You were in it. You were dealt with by the Secret Service, whisked through the Capitol. Please tell Franklin and anyone else who's listening what that experience was for you.
Wow. Okay. So let me start with just saying, first of all, we don't always get to live in the midst of a historical event.
Yes.
We sure enough did on January the 6th, because that's the first time the citadel of democracy had been assaulted by citizens of the United States of America. And so that in and of itself is something that will go to the grave with me as an experience I had. Secondly, absolutely, I was there. I was first evacuated from my apartment building, which was next door to the Republican National Committee, because there was a bomb in the alleyway that we share. So unprepared, unexpectedly, I left my apartment, my husband and I, and a member of my staff went to the the office building where my office is located in Cannon, was told immediately upon entering I had to leave. I had to go down the steps into the tunnels because we were too close to what might be the bomb.
Oh,
So my husband, my staff, and I went downstairs and encountered a whole bunch of people in the tunnel and in what is like a little cafeteria between the buildings. We were there for a while. And there are a lot of young people there, and some people didn't have their masks on. So I said to both Bill and my staffer, Jermaine, I said, let's go to the Capitol. We will be safe there. Because we understood that there was the bomb. We understood that there was going to be some demonstration. At that point, that's all we knew.
Mm-hmm.
So went over to the Capitol and realized that because I rushed from my apartment, I didn't have a button on, and my husband didn't have his button, and we both were masked up because of the virus. So I said, man, these people need to know who I am. So let me go get a button for my husband. Let me get a button for me. My staffer had his identification on him. So I stopped by the Sergeant of Arms office and got the buttons. And I was going to go up to the second floor and then go up to the gallery overlooking the second floor to see what was happening on the floor. But decided that I had a lot of time before we would actually be doing anything. I needed to go down to the attending physician's office, which is on the first level. So I proceeded down there and encountered the first police officer with his gun, really tall guy. And he says to me, I don't think you want to go down that way. They may be breaching. The protesters may be breaching the Capitol. I said, well, I'm not trying to get all the way down there to the end. I'm trying to get to the attending physician's office, which is just a little ways up and down another hall. And he kind of shrugged his shoulders and went off into the direction away from where he's telling me the breaches were. So obviously, I didn't think it was too serious if the man with the gun was leaving the area where he was suggesting there might be a problem.
Right.
I go down a little bit further down the hall and I encounter another police officer who says the same thing to me. They're breaching. They're coming in. You don't want to go down there, Congresswoman. I said, well, I really want to go down the hallway that's behind you, which is where the doctor's office is. So he stood in front of me as we walked behind him and went down the hall. As I'm going down the hall, these doors open and I hear, come shelter, come shelter, come shelter. I'm like, so I went into one of the doctor's offices, which was a small office. The nurse immediately locked us in behind two doors. And I looked up on the TV. She had a little TV in her office, and it showed the activity outside, which was like a lot of people, a lot of demonstration, but I really couldn't see everything that was going on. Shortly thereafter, while still in that office, I hear a lot of noise. It would sound like running, running hard. I hear USA, 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 USA chanting, and then I hear what sounds like scuffling. So I'm thinking that, okay, some of these folks got in. They're encountering the Capitol Police. It'll be okay because the Capitol Police will shut it down. I didn't know. I did not know at that point that the Capitol Police were experiencing the most traumatic experience they could have ever had. They were outnumbered. They were out everything. But I couldn't hear anything other than the scuffling. A couple of hours later, someone knocks on our door and it says, we got to get you out of here. We got to take you to another more secure place. I'm like, well, who are you? I'm not coming. I'm not opening the door. And so they said, well, we're security. We're security. And I'm like, look, show me some identification. Mm-hmm. So at the very top, there was a transom with a glass, mm-hmm. and someone held a badge up. And then under the door, they kind of slipped their badge halfway. So we opened the door and they ushered us out, including the nurse. and they took us down through the tunnels to what was the big holding room.
Mm-hmm.
We still don't know everything that's going on because we're not seeing anything on the inside. And they had cleared our pathway down through the tunnels into what was going to be the area going up to the holding room. So the only thing I saw were some uniforms in the hallway, in the tunnel, going in the opposite direction what I'm going in. They get us into the holding room. It is a huge room. It has no TV. It's got a lot of people in it, a lot of members, a lot of staffers, and I don't know who else. Number of people didn't wear their masks. One of my colleagues, Lisa Blunt Rochester, had some masks with her, and she was offering them to members who were not masked, and they were declining them, which I thought, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But that's where they held us for a couple of hours. One of the colleagues that I had talked to in there suddenly wasn't any longer there. I get this call on my phone. It says, you're going to be escorted up to another office. There are fewer people there. It is safer. So security took my husband and my staffer and I, took me up to this other office. And indeed, it was a holding office, but it was fewer people there. I stayed there, no television. I'm getting a lot of telephone calls asking me, are you okay? Are you safe? Please be safe. I even had friends who set up a whole prayer line that was coming through that my husband and I were able to listen on to. And we were very grateful for that. And we were getting text messages, we're praying for you. And I'm going, I thank you. Under any circumstances, I accept prayer. But I had no idea just how dangerous our situation was. And it wasn't right in the middle of it, right in the middle of it. So we stayed in the holding rooms until we got an all clear sign. Then we went to one of the offices, picked up some food, and then I stayed up in the whip's office until it was time to go vote. When you go to the whip's office, you got to go through statuary hall. So I saw officers sitting down, just looking absolutely drained. And I'm like, how are you? You know, is everything okay? You okay? And then I saw debris all over the place, you know, where they had done some cleaning up. Stayed in the whip's office. That's when I started seeing a little bit of what was going on because they had a TV in there. That was very frightening because that was all of the, oh my God, what if? Now, what if I had encountered them when I was going down that hallway and they were breaching the Capitol? What would they have done? I don't know. They're Oath Keepers, 3%ers, Proud Boys, you know, the folks that believe in white supremacy. I'm not that. And I'm a member of Congress. So that's when I saw some of it. I stayed there until it was time to cast our vote to certify the election. We went and did that. Then I went home to my apartment, watched television for an hour or so. And this was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And they're playing everything that had happened. And the more I saw it, the more frightening it became to me about, oh my God, the what ifs. What if? And I was happy that no member and no staffer was hurt. It really devastated me that a police officer had lost his life and police officers were hurt. And I saw this one police officer was being crushed in the doorway.
Right.
Oh my God. It was so traumatic just to watch it. So I went home that next day, come to New Jersey. I was here and I got a phone call from the attending physician's office. You need to go get tested. You were exposed in the holding room to COVID. I went and got tested, came back positive. The doctor called me up and said, made arrangements for you to go to the hospital to get a monoclonal infusion, antibodies infusion. Went and
Wow.
got the infusion. The next morning was called by the doctor. He said, you know, you had your first shot a couple of weeks ago, and then you had the monoclonal antibodies infusion. Those two things probably saved your life.
Oh,
Wow.
word.
You know, to say that, to hear somebody tell you that is like,
Yeah.
oh my God. I'm like, well, thank you, Jesus. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. And on the heels of surviving, you were insulated to a degree with all of this swirling around you and unbeknownst to you as it was happening. And then the end result being that you exposed to a life-threatening illness. Oh my word.
Was this publicized at the time?
Yeah.
Was this publicized at the time? I don't recall that. I don't recall you being coming out positive for COVID.
Oh yeah, yeah. In fact, I did a number of interviews about it, and I did an op-ed. Yeah, it was
Okay.
covered quite extensively. So every time we covered it, we had to relive it.
Right.
Wow. I'd just like to go back to one of the very first things that you said, that you knew that there was some sort of a demonstration about to happen, as did the police that you encountered before the actual occurrence. And one of the things that I've been struck by and alarmed by and appalled by was the lack of preparation to be able to enforce the Capitol against that sort of a physical abuse and a physical encounter where people were able to break down doors. I mean, where were the security systems if it was a known fact that there was a demonstration? And on that day, considering the political climate at the time, that more precautions were not taken. It seemed like it was an open door. Let's just walk in, and if not, let's just break down a few glass doors and partitions.
Yeah.
And the security was woefully unprepared.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, let me talk about the everyday Capitol Police officers. I mean, the heroes and all of this. They were doing their job, and they've encountered demonstrations before. There are peaceful demonstrations with thousands of people around on the Capitol grounds all the time. Everybody, we have a right to do that in this country. I don't think that certainly those men and women that were there at the Capitol expected anything like we had. So the question isn't about them and whether or not they knew. The question is who knew.
Right.
Correct.
And that's exactly what the select committee is looking into.
Right.
Who knew it? When did they know it? What was the involvement? At what level? What was the degree of collaboration, coordination, financing, and motivation? We know some of it. We know that the president's comments on the ellipse, the Congressman Mo Brooks's comments at that rally, Giuliani's comments at that rally were inciting.
Sure.
Were just fueling people who were angry and buying into the big lie that Trump didn't win. He didn't lose when in fact he did lose big time. So that's what this commission is trying to get at. Because if we don't get at the who, what, when, where, why, and how, Bill, I know you know what that is as a reporter, an investigative reporter. If we don't get the answers to those questions, we can't ensure that we can protect our democracy and our Capitol again.
Exactly. I just want to interject here just real quick. We have a watcher, Kevin Kamen, who commented, Congresswoman, sorry to hear you had to go through that experience. In all your time in Congress, did you ever think you would witness such a thing? And do you think something like this could ever happen again?
You know, going up high school history, I took 4 years of history in school because I loved it. Took history in college. We studied coups in other countries. We never, ever, ever associated the prospect or the possibility of that happening in the United States of America. So the answer to that question is no. I never expected there to be a coup against our government. I certainly didn't expect it ever to be a coup against one branch of government that was fomented by another branch of government. And as to whether or not something like that could happen again, it can if we're not prepared. It can if the systems of information gathering and sharing are not doing their job. And it can if there are people who choose to perpetuate lies and choose to adhere to non-democratic governance, autocratic governance are in charge. Yeah. It could happen again.
Yeah, people don't want to believe that, but that's the truth. That's the truth.
Well,
I don't remember.
There's a certain amount of patriotism that does come from that side, in that we've all heard it time and time again that they were invited to protest. They were invited to protect their country. That was what was postulated before all of this began. You need to save your country, and this is how we're going to do it. And then chaos. But I do believe, and I'm going to remain centrist, I do believe that there was a certain amount of, I'm going to get crucified for this, innocence on the part of many of the people who took part in this, who they actually thought they were saving their country at the behest of their leader, who invited them there because he felt, or he imparted the wisdom to them, that your country is in danger. And if you are a true patriot, you will go save your country. And that took hold.
So let me just split it a little bit. I believe that there were peaceful demonstrators who wanted to stand up for their country, and because they believed the president. I don't believe that anyone with possibly a patriot could think that they could have done something to save our country by doing what happened.
Right.
And so I do believe that there were innocent demonstrators, some of whom kind of stayed in the background, some of whom, however, got caught up in it.
Exactly.
Got caught up in the wave and became a part of the actual insurrection. But to even accept the notion that someone could, what does that mean, save your country? People voted. People engaged in the civic act of casting a vote and having their voices heard. That's how you save our country. To suggest anything else, there's no patriotism in that.
But then that
stand up for our country is.
Exactly. Yeah. But that was what was fomented. That was the concept that was telegraphed very loud and very clear for those who felt that indeed the election had been taken and they were going to do what they had to do to save the country from whatever disaster they perceived. And again, I'm hardly condoning the violence, hardly.
Right. Tell us again, we may have gone through this last year when we talked to you, but tell us again what it was like for you later that evening when the Senate and the House reconvened to certify the Electoral College. What was it for you to step into that chamber again?
I was proud.
Wow.
I felt like one of the best efforts ever to destroy us was defeated. And that we are here to do our job, and come hell or high water, we were going to do it. And we did it. And that we showed all of those people around this country that love this country and respect this democracy and needed us to show up and be strong and be united. We did. That we, the members of the Congress that went there and cast that vote in the right way, stood up for our country.
And what did you think when those congressmen stood up and challenged certain states' votes?
I don't understand them. I mean, I just don't understand spineless people. I don't understand people that don't have any morals or core values. I don't know what motivates them. I don't understand fearing another man like they fear supposedly Donald Trump. I don't fear any man. I don't know why they want to be in a position where they can't be true to themselves. And if they are being true to themselves, like if that evilness that's inside of them, like the things that the Gosars do and the Taylor Greens do to other people and say about, if that's truly who you are, you don't belong in Congress. You should not be a member of Congress. You have no right to represent anybody.
Right. I know you've been in the political world for a while. Do you think what happened last year, do you think that is sort of the natural evolution of what was the Tea Party movement?
I think that no.
No?
I don't. I mean, I think that the Tea Party movement stunned us behind sort of irrational positions that it took. But I thought that the Tea Party movement was just part of sort of the radical right that believed in the Constitution, their interpretation of it, that believed in our way of governance, that believed that democracy included voting, and that would accept the outcome of votes like we had to do in 2016 when Donald Trump, that we never, ever thought could possibly win an election to the presidency. So no, I thought that they were at least respectful of the institutions in which they were serving. No, I think this was different.
Okay.
I think that this was evil, intentional. This was Donald Trump, the businessman, in government. He lacked morals and responsibility and accountability. As a businessman, he was a poor businessman. He had failed businesses. He was bailed out by one or the other, or he walked away. He didn't respect folks that he hired to do things. So that this movement that became Trumpism was different than anything I envisioned. I didn't even envision that he could dig down that deep. I didn't realize that his evil was that fundamental.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Wow. Interesting. So here we are, a year and 5 or 6 days away. The select committee is doing its work. There's some folks on the left are saying, what's taking so long? So can you since I know you're not on the committee, but obviously you have conversations, I would assume conversations with her about people who are on the committee. Can you answer that? What is taking so long?
And what has happened thus far?
So I have tremendous respect for the committee because it is keeping what it is doing with whom and about whom close to the vest. And I am very close to the chairman, but I don't violate the integrity of our relationship by trying to get information out of him. And he wouldn't give it to me anyway.
Right.
But what little I hear and see is that they are strategically looking at everybody that could have had a role, everybody that has information, everybody that had firsthand experiences, any kind of communication that went from one person to another or one part of government to another part of government. I think it's working hand in hand with information that Congress, the FBI and the Justice Department are using. I think that the Justice Department is doing its job quietly as well. So while things don't move as quickly as I like, because I look at the surface and I go, you know damn well that Donald Trump is responsible for this, put him in jail. He belongs in jail. He belongs in an orange suit, you know. They're doing the job that is representative of who we are.
Sure.
And that is to gather the information and follow the facts.
Mhm.
And so it takes longer than we'd like, perhaps, but I don't think that they're going to be deterred. I think that they're a very smart group, a very hardworking group, and I have tremendous confidence in them. And I have confidence in the Justice Department doing its job as well.
Okay. It sounds to me like rather than death by 1,000 cuts, they want to just let it all out at once, rather than, put out little things as we go along. They're just saving it for one big bomb, right? That's just how I feel.
Well, I think that they're going to present everything so that we recognize that there's no way to call it anything other than what it is. So you're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
And
just seems almost preposterous, though, that there's so much that was obviously videoed that America and beyond witnessed exactly what happened. And it still is, I can't fathom how the police department and or whatever security was or should have been in place did not get the point. The point, the minute there started to be that rally that served as the instigation point for it all to happen, was security not witnessing that very same thing that the rest of the country is witnessing, and therefore discussing or putting into place whatever security measures were necessary?
So
It
two
just
things I
didn't
want to
happen.
say
It
to
felt
that.
the doors were wide open and waiting.
Yeah. Two things I want to say to that. Number one is that there was intelligence that something of this ilk could happen. That there were agencies or people within agencies that got that information. In fact, I think the FBI had sent some information forward
Prior.
that there could possibly be this. Number two is that there was the possibility to be better prepared, but there was a decision not to.
Hmm.
And a number
That's
of
the heart
reasons,
of this.
number of reasons have been offered, which I think are peculiar. One is that you didn't want to have a lot of military around because you didn't want to communicate something that wasn't.
Fear.
But yet,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Peaceful protests of Black Lives Matter, you probably had one law enforcement agent to every one demonstrator. So, that
Right.
doesn't hold water. But the last thing is that even the moment you knew that it got out of hand, the powers to be, starting with the President of the United States of America, didn't do what needed to be done. And that was to send reinforcements and support immediately to the Capitol.
All right. I can see in your voice and I can see in your face, you're still angry about this.
Oh, I'm very angry about this because, they're damn well fortunate that members and staffers didn't die in that, but police officers did.
Yeah.
Police officers died there, and police officers died as a result of it. And that is a very steep price. There are families that are mourning something that they never should have had to experience. And those responsible and those that allowed it to happen must be held accountable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like it was a huge gap in an intelligence failure, that if the knowledge was there, the failure to act and the failure to be prepared is just inexcusable.
It sounds like it was more of a failure to act than a failure of knowing. It seems like
We all watched
the National
the
Guard
same
and other
videos.
units
We all watched it unfold.
Well, I know we did, but I'm
If you
saying,
and I knew that there was something afoot,
Yeah.
certainly the FBI and other intelligence agencies had the capacity to be well prepared for that moment. And there was no preparation. And
But
at
there are
that
people-
moment, if preparation did not fall into place immediately, that's just gross negligence.
Hey, look, the president and his cohorts knew what was going to happen. They knew, damn it, they knew. The military at a very high level, Don't forget that General Flynn's brother
Mhm.
was in that room on that call when they called for help with the
Wow.
National Guard.
Exactly.
So at the very highest levels, there was a lack of involvement, a refusal to come to the rescue, a refusal to do your job to protect our democracy and to protect the people that were in the Capitol.
Mhm.
You know what? This is corruption at the highest levels and at the most despicable levels, and we must get to the bottom of it. We just
Yeah.
must get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. Well, we hope that we'll be
How
seeing.
close are we to doing just that?
Well, that would require my knowing where the January 6th commission is in its investigation and in its subpoenas and stuff, and I don't know. I don't know.
Mhm. Mhm. Let me ask you this: I can imagine you're not the only congressperson who still has these visceral feelings about this. It's not. To me, it's like to you. Well, let me rephrase that. I'm getting from you that to you, it's like it just happened yesterday. So, are there support groups? Are you guys meeting? Are you guys talking stuff out with each other? I mean, or are you guys just sort of dealing with it on your own?
There's a little bit of all of that going on. There are support groups, particularly for those who were up in the gallery, up in the balcony. There are individuals who are seeking counseling on their own.
Mm-hmm.
There certainly are members who we get together and we talk about it and kind of rehash it for a moment. I am certain, I mean, there are people like me who every time you got to look at it on television, you got to look at it a lot, go, oh my God, my God, my God.
Mm-hmm.
Just a couple of weeks ago, I was addressing a group and I was really just bringing greetings. And then at the end of my greetings, I wanted to say something about the year anniversary coming up. And as I started speaking, my voice started cracking.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was filled with emotions just thinking about it. I mean,
Sure.
hey, I'm a Black woman in this country. I know this country has not been fair to me or those that look like me. I know we have foibles and flaws and we got a lot of work to do, but I love my country. And I take being a member of Congress very seriously as a public service.
Mm-hmm.
And so to see what they tried to do to desecrate our democracy and the hall of democracy, that is very hurtful. And to see the disrespect, they're supposed to be Blue Lives Matter, right?
Right.
They were assaulting and hurting our police officers.
Right.
Well, they were the
I know,
line
that's crazy.
between successful mission or unsuccessful mission.
How's your husband doing? How's you with all that?
He's wonderful. You know what? I'm blessed that we were together that day. He didn't have to worry about me per se because he could see me, and because we were right there, and
Sure.
I didn't have to worry about him because he was with me.
Mm-hmm.
That was just that was just an amazing thing that happened, that we were together that whole day.
Something to share. You can talk about. But I mean, how's he doing mentally? Is he having the same sort of visceral reactions that you still are?
Well, he has his anger. He has his
Yeah.
anger about it. He has his anger about my having been exposed to and had COVID.
Mm.
But my husband, my husband is the ordained minister, right?
Right. Right.
He's a man of tremendous faith. And he puts his trust in God, and he recognizes that we're all flawed and we have to continue to aspire to a higher level.
I guess that's a good philosophy to have in times like that.
Yeah, thanks for asking about him.
Sure. Well, he was part of it too. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes the spouses in politics, the spouses get ignored, and that's not right.
But
they
he
go
was
through the
by
same
your
thing.
side throughout the entirety.
Yeah.
So he didn't just hear about it from you; he lived it with you.
Yeah. And he's very protective of me, thank God.
Oh,
Oh, that's great.
yes,
That's great.
absolutely.
So just to wrap things up, as we stand here today, obviously you're still angry, but you seem to have come through things okay. Do you get a twitch every now and then when you walk into the rotunda?
Well, in order to get on the floor, you got to go through a magnetometer now, because members tried to bring in
Guns.
their personal guns. So you're constantly reminded when you're there of the changes that have taken place. You can't walk through that place. I can't go to the ladies' room, which is right off of the speaker's lobby, and not remember what happened there.
Of course.
Yeah. I didn't know we had gas masks under our seats. Now I do.
Now you do.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But I also know that we got to carry on, and we can't let fear stop us or defeat us. And so we just go on day
Carry
at a
on.
time. Yeah.
Keep on keeping on. Well, that's great. Hey, PG, do you have anything else you'd like to ask?
Well, just that brings to mind that you weren't aware that there were gas masks, and now people are bringing their own weapons. Has there been any sort of training as a result of this to be prepared in case, God forbid, this would happen again? And now that it's happened once, we've learned lessons, we've learned what not to, but moving forward in that same situation, how do we, meaning you, Congress, behave if that were to be the situation again? Is there preparation training that we do this, we do this, we do this, these are the steps, and make sure that you follow them? It's like an airline stewardess at the beginning of the flight showing you how to apply your gas mask and put it on before you help someone else. Is there any sort of preparation?
You know where I think the training is taking place? I know it's taking place. It's taking place with the Capitol Police. It's taking place between the different law enforcement agencies. And so there's not but so much that we as members of Congress could do. We would be led to the nearest egress. We would be led to the safest route. Our responsibility would be to follow the directions of those who are there to keep us safe. No, I've not been trained how to put the face mask on, but I certainly looked at some of my colleagues who had them in their hands, and I know you put it over your head. And,
Yes.
That's a start.
I think that our
Press the
emphasis.
wrong button and have it going the other way. Right.
Yeah. So, but those who are charged to protect us, they are going through training and counseling.
Yes.
And those who are tasked to know in advance what's going on, to have their ears to the ground where they need to be, and then to communicate appropriately to the entities, they are working it out. And so I'm much more confident that those things are happening. I'm not confident that people who buy into this big lie won't try something again.
Sure.
Well,
I know what they're
that's
trying.
wise.
I know what they're trying in institutions on the state level
Yes.
with their legislatures to suppress the vote and
Exactly.
to create situations where they could pick their winners irrespective of who actually gets the most votes.
Right.
I understand that our responsibility is most definitely to pass protection and voting rights.
Right.
That's vital to reinstate the accountabilities in the Voting Rights Act by codifying it. Those things are vitally important and essential to the protection and preservation of our democracy and the protection of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Congressman Bonnie Watson Coleman of the great 12th Congressional District from New Jersey, thank you so much for coming
Thanks
on
for
with us
having
today.
me.
We really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, and you represent women so well, and I thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we want to have you. We want to have you back on. Hopefully before that, depending on how long it takes. But after the January 6th commission makes its whatever it's going to make, we'd like to have you back on to talk about your feelings about what it did, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and your evaluations.
And I want you to have me on after the Senate passes the Voting Rights Acts.
Okay.
And when we pass the Build Back Better agenda, because that's so very important to
You
our
got a deal. You got a
Okay.
deal. All right.
Thank you.
We'll
Take
have
care.
Thank
a
you.
date.
Thank you,
so
Congresswoman.
much, Congresswoman. We
Take care
appreciate
now. All right.
it.
That was
I
excellent.
can't imagine living through that and being
Yeah.
being somewhat shielded until you actually see what's going on, what had transpired while you were being escorted through various halls to safety, not really knowing safety against what.
Yeah.
And then finding out, oh my God, and then the assault with COVID on top of it. What a nightmare. What
I had
an
forgotten that she got
absolute
COVID. I
nightmare.
had forgotten that
Yeah,
part.
I had remembered that was a tremendous insult and assault on top of the rest of it.
And Franklin, I just want to say, Franklin, this will tell you how much the Congresswoman likes talking to you. We had her on for 45 minutes. When I first booked her, I was told by her handler that she could only stay on for 15 minutes. So she gave us an extra half hour. And then you saw what she said, have me back on when this and this happens. So you see that she really wants to talk to Franklin Township. I just think that's great.
It is.
Through us. Through us.
She's a strong representative on every level. She speaks her mind. She has no fear about telling the truth as she sees it. And because she lives it, it becomes the truth.
I don't know about you. I don't know about you, but when I asked her how she felt the first time later that night when she walked back out into the rotunda, into the hall, when she said, I felt proud, I kind of got goosebumps.
Goosebumps. I know. I did too. I know, to be a part of an organization that has so much responsibility for the rest of us, and that they survived one of the most vile assaults ever committed in this country against this country.
Against this country,
by its countrymen and women. It almost boggles the mind when you think about it again. Right now, it's a year later, and we know all about it. It happened. It did. The horror has got to instill in us that this can't happen again. This can't happen again.
We're supposed to. This is why we have elections as frequently as we do.
Well, this is why the voting rights issues are so paramount right now, because as we speak, they are being voted in place in many places in preparation for 2024. And now is certainly not too early to be dealing with that.
We didn't have time to bring this up with her. Maybe I'll bring it up with her in the future. But I've long held that, people who vote in primaries generally are on the fringe of either party. They're the most rabid party members of either Democrats or Republicans. So a lot of times you'll get candidates who get picked in the primaries that maybe the mainstream doesn't like, and usually they lose. Get rid of primaries. They're antiquated. We don't need them anymore. It should be whoever gets the most votes wins, and then we should get rid of primaries. Then you nullify the effect of the fringe on either side, and we go to ranked choice voting, which some states are doing.
Leads us to the Electoral College.
And eliminate the Electoral College is a remnant of slaveholding times. Eradicate the Electoral College. That's nonsense. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It doesn't belong in modern day politics. Other countries look at that and they say, okay, so this person got the most votes, but that person won. What? Exactly. And rightly so, because it's a ridiculous construct. And it was meant, well, we know what it was meant for. Eradicate the Electoral College, get rid of the primary system, move to ranked choice voting, and I think we'll have a lot better, and make all campaigns publicly funded. Get rid of the dark money, get rid of the contributions by corporations and these PACs and these other stupid little organizations that people form on the slide to slide money in there. So the little rat so-and-sos who are these political operatives don't get their way, because that's all they do.
Or you have a slate that is okay. You each have X number of dollars to work with for this campaign. Everyone has
Yeah.
the exact same
Right.
funding, and
Exactly.
you may the best man/woman win this election, and then
Right.
just like it was when
Man,
when
woman,
we
or
went to school,
whoever.
class elections.
Yeah.
Whoever had the most votes was the class
Right.
president.
Well, that's
Whoever had
public funding.
The next quantity of votes became the vice president. There
Right.
was no pre-selection.
Well,
It
I'm
was
not sure.
also simple.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd go that far on the presidential level. That's how it used. That's how it was. I guess in the beginning of the republic. But I'm not sure I'd go that far now. But yeah, and that's public funding. Everybody gets a pot of money, and you use it as you can, and that's
but
that.
It's equal. It's equal.
Right, and it's
everyone
paid
has
for.
the same dollar pot.
Yeah, everybody. It's paid for by taxes, and people contribute in their taxes, and that's how they get their money. And I think that's the best way to do it, because what's happening now is not working.
Well, it works
just
on an upper level. It's not
doesn't work
necessarily the most votes; it's the most dollars behind the votes.
No, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
Anyway, we're sailing on slippery sea right now, I think.
And we're allowed to have opinions.
I know.
We're allowed to have opinions. I'm just
And
not
we
gonna
will pay for those opinions.
screw them. I'm just not gonna cater to people's conspiracy theories and just outright nonsense about what happened that day. Billions of people saw what happened that day. We know exactly what happened that day, and and it's been reinforced by the pleas of people who were arrested. What they've said about it. We know what happened that day. We know it wasn't the FBI. The FBI did not plot this. We know it wasn't left-wing groups. It was a hardcore right-wing, Proud Boys, 3%ers. There's another group I can't think of the name of right now. Oh, the QAnon people. They're just backwater crazy. Those people. They're just. I actually saw a QAnon. A person driving a car with the QAnon motto, "Where goes one, go we all," or some crap like that. I just couldn't believe I saw it in Franklin Township. But Jesus, it must have come from another town. I'm going to refuse to believe there are QAnon people in this town, because, holy moly. Anyway, yeah, that should give me a few more threats.
Yes, I know.
Screw 'em.
We're skating on the edge.
Yeah, well, whatever. So there we have it.
I always am thrilled when Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman has some time to join us. She's a bright light. She really is. She's forthright. She speaks her mind, and
she loves Franklin.
Of course, political. She is political on the side.
No, of course she's
of
political.
What's right, and I don't.
She's out of Mercer County. She's got to be political. And she knows Franklin is important for her. She needs to have Franklin to be able to continue to serve. So that's, good for us.
Yes. Good for Franklin is undergoing a lot of tremendous changes, some of which we will be bringing you shortly. I know this Thursday we have
tentatively,
we have a news hour scheduled that is going to address what is potentially one of the largest industries in the state, if not the country, and Franklin is poised to be at the center of a lot of that. So as soon as we have confirmations on everything, we will be announcing that.
You could say it's a budding industry with high growth potential.
Let's just leave it at watch our Facebook page, watch franklinreported.com for the announcement as to what Thursday's news hour is going to be about. And we look forward to your questions and comments. Now, when we do announce a news hour, and very often we are operating at the last minute because a situation has arisen at the last minute that we address, but please send us your comments or questions that you have in advance of the news hours, that if for some reason you are unable to view it at the moment and pose your question, that at least you feel your voice has been heard. We do this broadcast live to Facebook as well as to YouTube. So yes, you can revisit it after the broadcast itself. But if you'd like your question posed, and for some reason you can't do it live, please send us your questions in advance of the broadcast, and we can include any number of them. We'll do our best to include them all, but so that you feel that you're represented and that your voice matters.
Yeah. And if you have any suggestions on topics you'd like us to cover in these news hours, or people you'd like us to interview, people you might think are interesting that the rest of Franklin might want to know about, just shoot me a line at editor@franklinreporter.com. I'm always open to new ideas and new information that we can bring to our our neighbors here in Franklin. And again, as PJ said at the beginning of the program, subscribe to the Franklin Reporter and Advocate website. $37 a year, about 10 cents a day. The best investment you're going to make. This is what we do, Franklin. This is what we do, and but we can only do it with your support. So the best way to show your support is to subscribe and keep community journalism alive in Franklin Township, because you don't get. Okay, I was told not to say this. I'm going to say it anyway. You don't get the depth of coverage that you do. You don't get the depth of coverage from other news organizations that you do from the Franklin Reporter. That's just a fact.
The focus of the Franklin Reporter is exactly that.
Yes.
And other organizations have different business models, and that works
exactly
in that environment.
Exactly.
But the Franklin Reporter, I think, folks, if you followed us at all over the last 8.5 years, that you know where we stand, and you know that we are everywhere that two people can possibly be all at the same time, from sporting events to charitable organizations to momentous occasions in the town, whether it's celebrations or commemorations or vigils or events such as what we were able to have today with Bonnie Watson Coleman.
New businesses.
Congresswoman. That yes, new businesses in town. It's a mission that from day one was bring Franklin to Franklin. Yeah. It was a township that was long lacking a news source, well over 20 years. And we were able to bridge that gap and offer you what goes on in this community. And this community includes every one of you. So if you see something, tell us about it. If there's something that the rest of the community needs to hear about, we are your source.
We are.
So we do so willingly. We love Franklin.
We do.
It's a place that we're very proud of, and we're very proud to offer it to it. It's been our mission. There was a lot of misinformation. There was a lot that was negative about Franklin, and that seemed to have been the focus of other more mainstream media for so many years, that Franklin was painted in a very, very bad light. And again, in addition to bringing Franklin to Franklin, we wanted to bring and continue to bring what's honorable, what's excellent, what we can all be proud of in Franklin, which doesn't mean that we're going to overlook what's ugly and what's real and what is not wonderful about Franklin, because that is news and you need to know what's going on.
Yep.
But we want to know about the child who's excelled in a course. We want to know about new businesses that are opening. We want to know about the faith and the belief that Franklin is what we think it is. And it's a growing, generous community who cares about its members. And we want to be able to report on that for all of you.
And besides doing that through being able to do that with the support of subscriptions, we do that with the support of advertising in the Franklin Reporter and Advocate website, the Morning Report newsletter, which you should sign up for on the Franklin Reporter and Advocate website, franklinreporter.com, if you already haven't, and the monthly digest newspaper, and also the News Hour, which you just saw, and our live streams that pop up every now and then when we have something on the spot that we have to tell you about. And ads at franklinreporter.com is the address to use if you want to inquire about sponsorships for the News Hour. Very, very affordable, and we get tremendous reach on these and the live streams as well. Excuse me, the live streams as well. One of our live streams got 30,000 views. So you can imagine if you're a business owner having your message out there in front of 30,000 people who are invested in Franklin Township. The monthly digest, thousands of readers every month, the morning report, and again, the Franklin Reporter website. So we actively seek your support in any of those ways through subscriptions or through advertising, because that's the way that this keeps happening.
Mhm.
And I don't know how much, how much more blunt I can be. That's the way that this keeps happening with your support, because this is what we do,
Mhm.
period.
But it's not just about the support. It's the backbone of the community is knowing what's going on within the community, and the source of your best news and the thoroughness of that news is with the Franklin Reporter and Advocate.
Right.
And your business can benefit from the fact that people want to know about the news.
Yep.
And when people are interested in the news, and your advertising is right there alongside of what people are wanting to read about, you can't help but benefit by that. So
Right.
to that end, I can be reached ads@franklinreporter.com. And my phone number is 732-820-0840. Now, I don't give that out all the time, but you can phone or text at that line if you have an inquiry about how to promote your small business or your
Right.
large business through our media.
Right. Included in that media is Twitter @Franklin Editor. Obviously, our Facebook page you know about because you're probably watching this on there. We have an Insta, Franklin_Reporter_and_Advocate, and _Advocate, and we also are on TikTok. I haven't put the link up yet. I'm still not sure what I'm doing.
One of us is on TikTok.
I'm on TikTok. All right, I'm the TikToker.
You tick.
I tick. They talk. I don't know, something like that. I still don't know how to use it. I'm still learning the best way to do it. I've seen other news organizations going from the fellow who dresses up in costumes and does skits to just a person who out of California who literally crouches under a desk.
Nice.
And this is a major news organization, and it's
Nice.
it's a person who crouches under a desk, and it's called News from Under the Desk. I don't know why, but
I'm sorry. I guess I'm more of a purist.
That's what it is.
I think if news has to have a gimmick, it just lacks integrity. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I mean, chicken suit in order for your message to be heard. I think there's a fundamental flaw in that.
But listen, if you talk to teachers, you'll see. If you talk to teachers, they'll tell you that there are all different ways that people learn, and some kids learn best straight to straight. Other kids need picture books and whatever else. I mean, it just depends on how your brain is wired. So I guess the Washington Post is going for that sort of folk who needs to be entertained while they're getting their news.
No,
I'm not a very entertaining.
Bill Bowman isn't far away.
What?
I guess then a chicken soup for Bill Bowman
is
not far away.
You'll never see me. I never like getting dressed up for Halloween. You'll never see me getting in a chicken suit. I was just about to say I'm not a very entertaining person, so I'm pretty much just going to be straightforward about it, I guess. I don't know.
But can you dance?
I can dance. Yeah.
Okay.
I can dance. All right.
Oh my
Anyhow.
God. Anyway, so levity aside, it's always a joy to be able to bring you what pops up as relevant, what pops up or what we unearth as something that we think will add to the betterment of the community, add to your pride in the community and your knowledge about your community. So again, to that end, if you see something that you think we should be reporting on, if you see something that you're especially proud of, please let us know that, because we all want to be proud about our community.
Yes, we do. All right, we're going to wrap it up. Franklin, thanks so much for tuning in again to the Franklin Reporter and Advocate News Hour. We appreciate your support. And as usual, until we see you again, Franklin, stay safe. PJ, say that thing you always say.
And this is PJ Parker from the Franklin Reporter and Advocate saying we'll be back.